with the scarcity of water, especially in the northern part of our country, who are more so that are pastoralists. You find the scarcity of water, maybe the scarcity of pasture, maybe they walk for a long distance, or maybe they have clashes between the other community because there is scarcity water for their animals, for their cattle, and also the young people, also the young children, maybe they can be affected by issue of like drop out from school because maybe there is the issue of food insecurity when there is drought, and also when they drop out of school, they are also affected with issue of traumas, depression, which also may lead to issue of like early pregnancy, early marriages. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you for that beautiful piece, Mlongo. And I'm seeing Judy Kasiva back in. Judy, would you please confirm that you are getting this audio clearly? Judy Kasiva? Elizabeth Nyaberi, can you confirm if you're getting us clearly?
I can get you guys clearly from my side.
Okay. Judy Kasiva? If Judy is still having problems, Elizabeth, you can kick us off kindly.
All right. No problem. I think I'll just kick off the conversation. And I think this particular conversation that we're having is very timely for young people in our country, because at the moment, I think we are facing all these issues intertwined. And the good thing about this conversation is that we are now speaking not only as scouts, but as human beings. And I think this conversation is also coming in when we are at a very critical place in our country. And we have we have some turbulence in our country, and I know we are able to experience it from our different um, counties and our different communities. And so I feel this is a conversation that is very timely, as I had said. And before I start, my name is Elizabeth, but most people know me as Liz. I currently serve as a board member in the Kenya Scouts Association, and I am really privileged to be part of this conversation. And maybe I'll just have a bit of everything because I had earlier told Regan that this conversation is very broad because we are talking of climate change, we are talking of mental health and well-being, and we're also talking about the role of youth in peace building. And I think you've also picked this. You've also picked this topic, and it's correlating so much in our theme for this year as scouts. And maybe I'll start with climate change. I think with climate change, mostly we focus on environmental conservation as scouts. And also, anytime we hear climate change, what comes to our mind is environment. But as someone had, I don't know, I can't really put a name to the face. Somebody talked about the issues that that people are actually facing right now in different parts of the country. And this conversation is not merely on environment, but we are talking about now people's lives. And I love how we are also bringing in the realities of what's happening in our environment and in our different areas, because I'm sure right now different counties are experiencing this issue of environment differently. There are some that are struggling with droughts at the moment. There are some that are also struggling with floods. There are areas where we have a lot of issues of food security, and it's a big problem in our country with how the economy is fluctuating, and also how this issue of environment and climate change is also affecting education. There's some time back, we were having a project with an organization called Together for Better. and we went to Kajiado, the inner sides of Kajiado, Koisinya, and we met one of the heads of institution there, and we were asking them, just random questions of how are children, how do children behave these sides? Because initially we knew pastoralist communities, they move a lot, but nowadays we'd think that that has stopped because we don't get to see it much, and there's also a lot of improvement in our education and all that. But they clearly told us that, you see, when it's dry season, parents move, and when they move with their children. So at times these children's education is also tampered with because they have to go, and then they come back when they are almost doing exams, and most of them end up not passing because of that specific issue. So these are problems that we are seeing, but it's different in different counties. And also talking about being resilient. Yeah, I think we are really at a time when people are not as patient with everything, and also as scouts now, that's where we come in, because we are in these communities, we are seeing these problems, and we need to, encourage communities to be resilient, and also just do the right thing, because with the issue of climate change, it is a human problem. We are the ones who have caused this problem, by allowing people to cut down trees, to litter, to just behave anyhow with nature. And with nature, anything that you give to nature, it will give back to you. And so we are coming in to encourage communities, besides planting trees, to also conserve the environment. And I love the fact that we are all, as scouts, we are very loud on this, and we are very categorical that we are not only dealing with we are getting into now proper research on the type of trees that people should plant, where you should plant them, the importance of these trees. And I see very good initiatives also that scouts are doing. And they've been doing them, maybe documenting though inakwanga shida kidogo from our side. But I'm seeing a lot of good work that scouts are doing now, getting into detailing how to cater for these seedlings, what you need to do and all that. And I know we have different areas, and each area has its own catchment. So there are some places where mangrove trees can grow. There are some that mangrove can't. There are some places where indigenous trees can grow. There are some places where you can plant very good fruit trees and they'll grow and all this. So this is a conversation that should be continued, but I also encourage scouts as much as possible, besides planting trees, let people understand how to bring in technology in these issues. So we need to see a lot of innovation in the through technology. Let us see how we can conserve environment. And I know young people are coming up with very good initiatives. We should continue thinking around that area. Also, there is what we call community development. How are our communities? As we encourage people to plant trees, are we seeing any other problem? There's the issue of food security that is a big problem. There are places where people are still struggling with food. Can we encourage them to also do plants that can also help in the long run, when it comes to food security? And also, let's engage in policy conversations. Our country has a tendency of having very good policies, but when it comes to implementation, it's a problem. But then who should implement? Because we are the ones who are supposed to call out government to do the right thing. We see a lot of degradation. We see a lot of cutting down of trees. We see a lot of encroachment in forests. I can give an example of our raw land, for instance. I don't know if you guys have been there recently. People are cutting trees and they're building, wherever. We need to be part of the people that call out government and tell them that this is the right thing, that we need to do. Anytime we're having these conversations in our communities, can we be part of those conversations? I encourage scouts, and we have an initiative on drug prevention. And I pushed some of the scouts from the countries that, I don't know if you guys have heard of the recent shisha ban. I digress. And we had the shisha ban public participation that was organized by the Ministry of Health. I pushed scouts to participate in those conversations because that's where all these policy conversations come in, and that's how we also need to mold ourselves to understand our policies, understand MCA, understand natural resource preservation in our country, because we'll continue having the same conversations, but we need to also be very enlightened on what we have as policy in our country, so that as we're even going out to have these conversations, we are talking from a point of knowledge. Quickly over to mental health, and I don't know if I'm covering what Judy had prepared, but I think mental health is also one of the big concerns, and also linking it up with the issue of climate change. Maybe just mental health by itself. There's also the bit where we need to be very emotionally conscious. I know mental health, anytime people talk about mental well-being and health, people are pushing it towards conversations of mental illnesses and all that. But as scouts, we need to create a sense of belonging, and I think this is the good thing about scouting. It's a community, yeah. So as we're having these conversations, it's good that we are talking to people that are actually mentally conscious, that they're able to take care of their mental health, as much as we have all these problems that we are seeing in our country at the moment. And the good thing about all these things is that, the good thing about the conversation that we're having right now is we are in the age of social media. And with social media nowadays, people are very good at documenting. And we love documenting what? We love documenting damage. When you see someone crying, you just want to go with the camera. When you see an accident, you want to go with the camera. When when you see maybe a road destroyed, the likes of what's the name of this guy who does a lot of documentation? I forget his name. He's from Kisii. He does a lot of, anytime we see something wrong, we are very quick at documenting. And anytime we also see a flood or nyumba mtu imeanguka, we quickly run there. But we forget that even accidents, apparently, people nowadays record accidents instead of acting. So we forget about the